When you think about Sherlock Holmes, you have to wonder, how does he see all these little clues that everyone else just walks right past? Is it some kind of superpower? Well, according to Maria Konnikova's fantastic book Mastermind, it's actually something way more interesting than that.
It really all comes down to this one single idea. It's a line Holmes famously said to his friend Dr. Watson, "You see, but you do not observe." And that little phrase, that's the key that unlocks his entire way of thinking. It's what we're going to unpack right now.
So let's get right into it. The most important thing to get is that what Holmes does, it's not magic. It's not a gift he was born with. It is a trained mindset, a set of mental habits that he worked on, and that, believe it or not, anyone can learn to develop.
So how do we actually do it? Well, we're going to break down his method into 5 key steps. We'll start with Sherlock's big secret, which is all about seeing versus observing. Then we'll get into how to organize your own brain attic, learn how to use your imagination like he did, and finally, get a handle on keeping your emotions in check.
Okay, first things first, Sherlock's secret. This is the foundation for everything else, the simple but game-changing practice of true observation.
There's this great story where Holmes shows this to Watson perfectly. He just turns to him and asks a really simple question. How many times have you seen the stairs that lead to our room? And of course, Watson says, hundreds of times.
And then Holmes drops the bomb. So tell me, how many steps are there? And Watson, he has no idea. Absolutely no clue. He's walked up and down those stairs a million times, he's seen them, but he never actually observed them.
The answer? 17. Holmes knew because he made a conscious choice to actually pay attention, to notice that detail and file it away. It's the perfect example of the huge difference between just passively seeing the world and actively observing it.
So, how can you and I start observing like Holmes? Well, it means you have to actively engage your brain. Start paying attention to the really small details. Don't just see a shirt. Notice the specific shade of blue, the texture of the fabric. Look at the shapes of things around you. And when you're talking to someone, don't just hear what they say. Really watch their body language. Once you start observing all these details, you need a system to manage them. And this brings us right to our next skill, learning to organize your brain attic. This is all about being selective with your attention. Holmes had this amazing metaphor. He said, the mind is like a brain attic. Now, think about that. Your brain is like a little storage room, and it only has so much space. If you just toss any old thing in there, it's going to get messy, and you won't be able to find anything. To make it work, you have to be super picky about what you keep. And just look at how Holmes did it. He was ruthless. He filled his attic with stuff he knew he'd need. Criminal histories, chemistry, anatomy. And what did he throw out? Useless news, celebrity gossip, trivial facts that were just taking up space. He was a master filter. The lesson for us here is huge, especially today. We have to protect our minds from information overload. Think about it. The endless social media feeds, the clickbait, the notifications dinging all day long. If you want to think clearly, you have to decide what's essential and what's just noise you need to ignore. Now, a lot of people think Holmes is just this cold logic machine, right? But that's missing a massive piece of the puzzle. We have to talk about how to use imagination to get beyond just the obvious facts. See, Holmes's imagination wasn't about making things up. It was a powerful tool he used for solving problems. It was a whole process. First, he'd gather every single fact he could. Then, and this is the fun part, he would visualize all the different possibilities. He'd run scenarios in his head, asking, what if this happened? Or what if that happened? And only after exploring all those creative paths would he use his logic to figure out which one was the most likely to be true. And that brings us to our last skill, and honestly, it might be the hardest one of all, keeping your emotions in check. It's all about finding the power of a calm mind. Holmes understood a simple truth. Strong emotions are the enemy of clear thinking. When you're really scared or angry or even super excited, your judgment gets cloudy. You start to miss things and you jump to the wrong conclusions. So during a case, he would intentionally set those feelings aside so his logical brain could do its job without any interference. What's really cool is that this approach lines up perfectly with the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. The whole idea behind Stoicism is to figure out what you can control and what you can't, and then refuse to let your emotions about the uncontrollable stuff run your life. Holmes was basically a Stoic master. He just knew that a chaotic mind can't solve a complex puzzle.
You have to find that mental quiet first. He'd probably say something like, when the mind is calm, logic can work.
It's as simple as that.
So, as you head out into the rest of your day, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. Are you just going to move through the world and let everything blur together? Or are you going to start paying attention? Today, will you choose to just see, or will you choose to observe?